Hello everybody, thank you very much for joining me today for another Twilight Zone video in my Twilight Zone ranking series where I rank every episode of the original Twilight Zone from my least favorite to my favorite. Today I'm going to be talking about number 78, Black Leather Jackets, written by Earl Hamner Jr. and directed by Joseph M. Newman. This is a season 5 episode and there will be spoilers. So, Black Leather Jackets is considered by many Twilight Zone fans to be a lesser episode of the Twilight Zone, and you know what? I won't even argue on this point. But for me, Black Leather Jackets, while I can see why some wouldn't really like it or be able to get into it, it's my ultimate guilty pleasure episode. I really enjoyed quite a bit. And I think a lot of the reason for that is that this episode reminds me of a 50s or 60s B science fiction movie, which I enjoyed quite a bit. The plot is pretty silly. The acting is average, but Shelley Fabares is nice to look at, so the episode has that going for it anyway. So this episode's about 3 aliens who are going by the name Scott, Steve, and Fred, and they're acting as humans, and they're disguised as being bikers when really they're scouts from another planet. Why did they choose to be bikers? Who knows, but it's pretty great, so I don't mind it too much. They're also using an antenna to mess with the neighborhood radios and TVs, things like that. So one of the neighbors named Stu Tillman goes over to their place to complain. But one of the aliens named Steve uses some kind of mind control, I think it is, to get out of the situation, which is also pretty amazing. Now, Stu also has a daughter named Ellen, played by Shelley Fabares, who is very easy to look at. So one of the aliens, who has very good taste, named Scott, falls for Ellen. So now the other aliens don't trust him. So Scott tries to tell Ellen there is a plan. We find out to poison the water supply, and he wants them to leave together, but Ellen doesn't really believe him, which kind of makes sense. He doesn't come across as that believable, honestly. So Scott then goes to his leader, being desperate, which is actually a giant eye. Yes, really, it's an actually giant eye. And, he wants the eye to reconsider, but the eye refuses. And at this point, I'm wondering how anyone cannot love this. It's completely amazing. So Stu calls the police on Scott and has him taken away, even though he was only trying to help them. Of course, the police are aliens as well. How or why, who knows? But you just got to go with it. It's the Twilight Zone. And also, it looks like humanity is going to be in trouble. So, like I said, this is definitely my guilty pleasure episode. I get why a lot of Twilight Zone fans can't really get into this episode. It is kind of silly and ridiculous. Like I said, a lot of things about it are just pretty average, but I just find the whole episode so entertaining. I always look forward to watching this episode. I mean, there's plot points you can question all over the place, but I mean, this episode has alien bikers taking orders from a giant eye, and for me, that's completely amazing. Oh, by the way, did I mention that Shelley Fabares is easy to look at in this episode? So maybe I'm being too nice to this episode, but for me, Black Leather Jackets comes in at number 78. It's just a guilty pleasure episode for me that I really enjoy watching. As always, feel free to leave me a comment on this episode, Black Leather Jackets, if you liked it or not. Thank you very much for your support, and thanks for watching.